All right, welcome back to Badge of the Bone podcast. I'm Denny,
I'm Al.
and here we are with another episode, Al.
Yep, we are back.
All right, let's do it.
Buckle up.
I've given up on society, up on my family, up on your social disease. I've given up on the industry, up on democracy.
Hey, Al.
Denny, how you doing?
Well, now that we got some of the technical difficulties out the way and we're back recording,
It's amazing nothing got smashed, broken. There was minimal cursing.
yeah, well, because I've been fiddling with it for about an hour now, trying to get it straight, and I still don't know if I understand exactly why it's working now, but it is working.
It's whatever gremlin was in the system.
So that's yeah, but it's working.
Yeah.
So we're ready for another show.
Yeah. But how you been?
Been good,
Yeah?
busy.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of cold for a little bit.
Yeah. More importantly, your ass went to Disney.
I did, go
And
to
you did a
Disney.
whole bunch of Star Wars shit.
Oh
I'm
man,
so jealous.
it got a little out of hand.
I look behind me and I see just how out of hand it got.
It did. I mean, what turned into
Ka-ching, 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 more money to the mouse.
it was for my 50th. I'm like, I've never been. I got to go and see it, and then I get there, and I'm like a kid now. And it started off with it. I made the appointment to build a lightsaber, which I was so stoked about, and it was awesome.
Hold on. Just a lightsaber.
Well, no, I didn't finish. So me and the boys, we built a lightsaber, and it was awesome. And then I did the appointment, build a droid.
Yeah.
And then I bought another lightsaber. I bought a replica. And, we spent like the whole day there. And then before we're at the very end, when we're kind of wrapping up and we're going to do the last thing, which was to go have some drinks at the cantina that we had a reservation for, me and the boys went in one more store that we had found kind of at the end. And
Spend more money.
yeah, ended up, man. Well, we were looking for the dark saber, and lo and behold, this store we found at the end, that's the one that had it. So me and my middle son in the Coast Guard, he got a dark saber. I got a dark saber. Then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to get this biker scout helmet." And I'm like, "Ah!" So I start eyeballing helmets, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll grab the Kylo Ren helmet." So then I come away with a helmet. And then, short story long, we ended up going back for a second day, just me and the wife. The kids kind of went and did their thing, and we had my oldest. She ended up flying back a little early, so Disney actually let us use her and her husband's ticket to get back in a park. So we got back into Star Wars. We're like, all right, we have to buy a ticket, and then I built another droid, and I went back to the store and I was looking at another lightsaber, and I'm like, oh, we have this box set called the Chosen One, and it was 3 lightsabers. It was
Music when you open it.
music.
Yeah.
It was Anakin's Padawan saber, then his saber, then Vader's saber, and you open it up and it plays the music, and then it transitions to the Vader music. And I was like, just take my money. Just take my money.
And that mouse just bent you over and yanked the wallet right out your pants.
It sure did. It sure did. And then we're packing up the car, trying to drive home. We could hardly fit. I mean, I joked that I was going to need a trailer coming home. I almost did. We could barely fit everything in the car from all the shit that I bought.
Well, when I came over last week and gave you your birthday present, it was like Christmas morning. I think your wife was laughing at us because there was so much Star Wars shit.
Oh my gosh, yes, and that was amazing. And as you see, it's in the display case for now.
I do.
Until I think I'm still going to mount it, like we talked about. So for those listening, it's and everybody's going to be laughing at me listening to this because they're going to be like, "What a geek!" But it's a replica of Boba Fett's blaster, from Return of the Jedi. So it looks like it's the shit. It looks just like it.
And you brought me a droid. You
I
made a droid for
I
me,
did.
which was super kind.
So I actually built 3 droids. We built 2, and then I was like, you know what? I need to build another one, and just pick, because I didn't know what to get. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna pick some stuff and bring it home.
That was perfect.
And I was like, as long as it looks kind of Empire-ish, I think we'll be okay.
No, that was perfect.
So yeah, so
I took it home, and my pity thought it was there to murder us.
But it was an amazing trip. At 50, I got to act like I was 10 years old again, maybe 12, but
that's good. It's good. I'm glad you're joining me here in the 50s.
Well, the birthday in Disney and Star Wars kind of helped to ease that pain of transitioning to the 50. And I'm like, oh, let me forget about all of that and just think about Star Wars geekdom for.
And then sometime this week you'll sneeze and throw your back out and you'll think about being 50 again.
Yeah, I'm pretty much almost there.
So we got a great guest tonight.
Absolutely.
Somebody who I have been wanting to get on for several months now.
Yeah, we've been talking about this a lot.
And just the stars hadn't aligned and we'd been distracted, and this, cat had kittens, dog had fleas, but here we are. So, I was trying to set this up in a good way because we're going to be talking about somebody tonight. So we're going to be talking about somebody who proudly served their country for 20 years in the U.S. Navy. They served at sea and abroad, served in Operation Desert Storm. The naval service culminated with a final tour on the island of Crete. And this is where he met his shipmate for life, Jeanne. After his retirement from the Navy, he fulfilled his mission in continuing to serve others as a corporal in the Pittsylvania County Sheriff's Office, which is here in Virginia, out west. Always had a smile that could light up a room. Never met a stranger. Larger than life. His sense of adventure took him scuba diving, golfing, jeeping, and in his quieter moments, he enjoyed spending time with his doggos. Most of all, he had a tremendous love for his family. Whenever he spoke about them, which was all the time, his eyes lit up, and it was obvious to everyone that they were his world. He was the kind of person that made people feel as if they'd known him forever, even if he'd only just met them. He was the deputy who would respond to a suspicious activity call at an elderly person's home. And once he was there and everything was made safe, he'd sit and talk to them, helping to give them an added sense of relief and safety. He was the deputy who would stop on the side of the road to change a tire any hour in any weather. He was the deputy who would talk a young man out of acting, out of anger, so that young man would later become a nursing shift lead at a local hospital. Never stopped having a kind heart. He was always in tune with his children, his nieces and nephews. He'd play with them constantly. Never bothered him. He'd play Mario Kart or ride roller coasters or just tease them endlessly and make them laugh. He truly enjoyed their company. He was known for his sense of humor, always pranking someone, like the time he put a "I love my sailor," I'm going to have to ask about this a little more, magnet on a sergeant's patrol car. Apparently that magnet is still on display. Or the time he pulled his brother-in-law over in a parking lot. Always told jokes, always trying to make people laugh. Would always repeat the punchline and laugh ahead of it. This is an amazing man. And this man is Robert Wayne Grubby Grubbs of Dry Fort, Virginia. And on February 24th, 2021, surprise to everyone, including the ones that loved him most, he took his own life.
Mm.
And since that time, his beloved half, Jeanne, has carried on his memory and legacy. And I met Jeanne at a First Help fundraiser put on locally by Strength and Honor MC. They do this every year in Metro Richmond. It's a remembrance ride, and she was there on behalf of First Help. And we got to talking, and man, I was just taken with her. She just her energy, her positivity, and of course her deep love for Grubby just came straight through. And kind of like earlier, when we kicked off this season, we were talking to Mark,
Yeah. Yeah.
about his son Chris that was killed in the line of duty, and in speaking to Mark, I was so taken aback by, how do you deal? I'd have crawled into a hole.
Yeah.
How do you deal with this and come across with the energy and the positivity and the love and the generosity that you have? And Jeanne is doing exactly the same thing. And I can't understand how she does it, but it's amazing.
It truly is.
And,
It truly
and
is.
I want her to share that with us. So without further ado, Jeanne, welcome to the Badge to the Bone podcast.
Thank you. Thank you both.
So good
I'm
to have you.
glad to be here. I'm
That,
glad our stars aligned.
I want to tell you, you sent me some links and stuff and some stuff to read over. And I will tell you, there was a line in there I'm going to highlight here because I mean, where is it?
Need your glasses, old man.
No, I don't need my
Okay.
glasses. And I got a regular font on my phone. I don't have airplane font on mine.
I feel judged.
There was where you said he had said, if I wanted to be safe, I'd have joined the Coast Guard.
I know. I had to throw that in just for you.
I wanted it I saw it. I was like, is that by design?
Well, I mean, that was the sheriff. He tells me that he misses that every day that Grubby would work, he would come in and pop in the sheriff's office. And the sheriff would tell him, be safe. And I answered him and I said, if I wanted to be safe, I'd have joined the Coast Guard, because he used to say the same thing to me.
That is pretty funny. I'm prior Coast Guard.
I know.
And I saw that and I was like, so that got a laugh out of me right there. So
I figured it would. That's the kind of person he was.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Well, tell us, because I read parts of what First Help has that you kindly shared with us, but tell us really who Grubby was. How'd y'all meet?
We met on Crete, and he came up to me my very first day. I had just landed on island, and he just came out of nowhere and he said, "Hi, I'm Grubby."
And you were a sailor too.
I was. And he was in civilian clothes because he was one of the criminal investigators over there. And I thought, who is this weird old man coming up here telling me that his name is Grubby? And I just, hi, I'm MA1 Tucker. I mean, I didn't know him. And in that rate, it's like so many other jobs, kind of like being on the road. You got to be careful who you hang with, because, you never know. You might need strike plates in your vest. So, I had to feel this guy out and make sure that this dude was okay. And he said, "Do you dive?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Do you want to dive?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'd like to learn." "Oh, good. All right. Well, we'll get you diving." And we did. I mean, he taught me how to scuba dive and was my dive buddy for a long time. Before, we became the best of friends. While we were on Crete, he ended up having Guillain-Barré and ended up in the Greek State Hospital there in Hanya, which is about one step up from Chickens in the P-Way.
Oh, wow. Yikes.
He couldn't feel his feet. couldn't feel his legs. And the American doctor said, I want somebody with him around the clock. Well, I was on my Twilight tour, so I had a desk job. I was doing the cushy job. I had a desk job. And if anybody could stay away or, be there overnight and then be tired the next day and get up and go get coffee, it was me. So I slept next to him on a beach chair for 8 straight nights. While he fussed and groaned and moaned and constant bitching and complaining. And there were a couple of times that one of us was about to go out that 4th story window, and I was pretty sure it was going to be him. But I knew that he was scared that he was never going to walk again. I knew that he was scared that, this could have killed him. And the reason that they kept him on Crete instead of sending him to Landstuhl was because that 3 days it would have taken him to get to Landstuhl and get on the medication would have probably killed him.
Wow.
And they could put him on the medication immediately on Crete. So here I was in this room with 3 other patients, not just him, on a beach chair under a tablecloth.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't really have a blanket. I had a tablecloth though, so that's where I slept. And I would take care of him at night and make sure that he had everything he needed. And then helped him when he got back to the house. And kind of looked after him. He was okay at that point, but there was a lot of talk about medevacing him back to the States, and he didn't want to do that. The doctor that they were going to refer him to in Pensacola had only read a paper about Guillain-Barré, and the doctor that he was seeing on Crete was one of the leading experts in the world on it. And he didn't want to come back. So the test was going to be if he could walk without crutches. And so he came to the doc. He came to the base one day to go see the doc, and he took the crutches in and handed them to her and said, "I'm good. I don't need these."
Wow.
And that was, and then he texted me and said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "I'm changing. I'll be out in a minute." And he said, "I'll see you at the Jeep." And I let him drive off base. And as soon as we got out of sight of the base, we switched places because he was so tired from driving.
Wow.
But he was bound and determined. He was not going to leave like that, that he was going to go out on his own terms. And he was going to do his retirement all the way. It wasn't going to be medical. And he did. He finished it out.
Good for him.
So he was, but even in that, he always had jokes. Always had jokes. Constantly messing with somebody. Even through all that, he kept a smile. And, we laughed a lot about that. As bad as it was and as much as it sucked, we would go down to the lobby. I would take him down there in his wheelchair, and which we had to borrow from the base and handcuff to the bed so that they didn't steal it.
Wow.
And I would take him downstairs, and we would get frappes at the little cafe downstairs. And then he would put €1 in the little massage chair so that he could watch my jiggly jigglies jiggle. That's what he said. And
That's
when
funny.
we both came back to the States, we just stayed in touch. And eventually, it was a couple of years before we, became a couple.
Right.
And that was kind of that was the last thing I ever expected, but I guess he knew more than I did. So,
So how did he coax you to beautiful metropolitan Danville?
Well, it was funny because I had just started about 7 months before working for DOD. I had gone back to the sub base at Kings Bay as a DOD police officer, and I had retired out of Kings Bay as a watch commander. So, because that department was 50-50 civilian military. So I went back DOD. And it was cushy and it was easy and it was fun. Because we did the same stuff everybody does outside the gate, just maybe not as often. But he had his job with the sheriff. He got the job with the sheriff's office, and he would not. He wasn't going to leave it, and
Mhm.
I didn't want to be apart any longer.
Mhm.
So I ended up taking a dispatching job with the city of Danville and moving up here. That was the worst 2 years of my life.
Now,
Um,
what year was that? What
that
year
was
did
in
he?
2012. I moved up here in 2012.
Okay.
So I had been here for 9 years when he died. And stayed because our daughter is doing really well in school and she's happy here. So
Mhm.
she was happy in her school, and I was like, well, we'll just stay and
Mhm.
we might move at some point. And we're starting to look at that now. I'm starting to look at moving south,
Yeah.
close to the
Mhm.
beach.
Where it's warm.
Yes, to hell with this winter mess.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
So
So
he liked being a deputy out that way.
he loved it. He loved it. He said it was like it was like a cross between Dog the Bounty Hunter and NASCAR
That
because
sounds
he
like
got to
that. That
drive
pretty
sounds
cool.
fast
like
and arrest it.
Danville, Pennsylvania area.
That
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
Yep.
Makes total sense.
And I
Yeah.
mean, he had stories, boy. He could tell them. He knew Tickle. He'd actually arrested Tickle. So yeah, because Tickle's from here. So
Oh yes, oh yes.
I'm not familiar with Tickle.
Tim and Tickle, the moonshiners
from the
dudes.
Moonshiner.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah. So and he
Oh,
had
wow. No
actually
kidding.
no kidding.
Damn, that's
But
cool.
he never, like the people that he arrested, I mean, most of them never had a problem with him. They knew he was just doing his job and he treated
Mhm.
everybody with respect. So,
Mhm.
because he always treated everyone like they were human and
Mhm.
people make mistakes. Sometimes
Yeah.
people make a lot of mistakes.
Mhm.
Or they make the same mistake over and over again. But he still didn't let that cloud his judgment. He was very a lot of people have come to me afterwards and said that, he changed, he helped them. That even when he arrested him, the fact that that helped them. And, that that's made a lot of difference. It's helped a lot,
Yeah, it sounds like he
to know
saw
that.
people as people.
He did.
You're right. People make mistakes. People do bad things. Things happen, but still people. And even
He
when you
did.
arrest them, so that's a huge trait. I mean, that's
Yeah. And, when
perhaps.
you're going through the way that things have been the last few years in the country with, the
Oh yeah,
negative, all the negative talk about law enforcement and he was one of those that he would point out a bad cop in a heartbeat.
yeah.
He had no tolerance for him at all. Um, but if you were a good cop, he would back you up and it didn't matter who he had to go against. And if you were that person who had, messed up, done something stupid, he was still going to be respectful to you. He was still going to treat you with respect because he knew that to get respect, he had to give it.
Mhm.
Sure. Yeah.
And, the narrative has been so bad the last few years. And he was bound and determined that he was going to change that narrative. He was going to prove it wrong. So, but he would have arrested his own mother if he'd had to.
Sure. Well.
I mean, I got pulled over for speeding one day by one of the younger deputies, by a rookie. And I mean, I knew I was speeding. I was trying to get home from work and he caught me coming down a hill and I was going a little faster than I should have been. A lot faster really, but he pulled me over and I was watching in the side mirror, making sure he did his approach right and everything because I was going to critique this. If he wasn't right, I was going to critique it. I was going to tell Grubby, look, he needs more training. And Grubby told him after the fact, he said, man, you should have searched her car. I mean, he told me he wouldn't write me. And he said, oh man, you're a supervisor's wife. I can't write you a ticket. I said, oh, yes, you can. You better write that ticket. But he wouldn't do it. I said, look, I'll teach you. But Grubby's like, you should have ticketed her. You should have searched her car. Anything. But
So, everything I've heard about him and everything I've read about him, I mean, you go, how did we get here?
yep.
And so I guess that's kind of where I'd like to go next is
Okay.
how did we get here?
Yeah.
Because it seemed like there was no warning signs.
No, there weren't. And I mean, he was the last person anyone would have ever expected, because he loved him some Grubby.
Mm.
I mean, he did. He would stand there with that gut poking out, talking about, I'm sexy. I mean, he loved some Grubby. I just had to shake my head at him most of the time. But, it was a perfect storm
Mhm,
that just all came to a head in that one moment. And I don't think he planned it.
mhm.
I don't think he knew that he was going to do it until right as he was getting ready to do it. I mean, I just think it was like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to solve this problem and nobody has to worry. And, I have thought long and hard about what if,
Mhm.
what if I had done something differently? Because there's a lot of that goes along with being a survivor. I mean, we'd been in the car just beforehand, and there's that part of me that wishes that I hadn't stopped at the house, that I had just kept driving, because he was safe in the car. But I
Mhm.
didn't think he wasn't safe at home. I figured he was safe at
Sure.
home.
Mhm.
But what had happened was about a month to the day, actually, beforehand, he had been working and he was the supervisor on duty. And his shift got involved in a state chase that came over from Henry County, and it came through Henry up into Campbell.
Mhm.
And he was down on 58. He was not involved. He was down south. But everything on the radio, and I have the radio traffic on my phone.
Mhm.
Every single call he made that day was absolutely 100% textbook. It's what anybody would have done. It was a state chase. County was backing them up. They lost sight of the vehicle. So what did everybody do? They broke off the chase. But you guys have been on the road long enough. What do? You saturate the area and hope that you find the vehicle again, right?
Oh
Mhm.
yeah. Oh,
That's
absolutely.
exactly what happened.
100%.
And
Absolutely.
sure enough, one of the deputies called it in that he had popped out in front of him. And he tried to stop him and he didn't stop. He kept going. So he asked, or dispatch CCOM asked, if state was with him. And we had to listen to the call over and over. We had to listen to the radio traffic over and over and over again to hear him before we realized he said okay. We thought he said 10-4. And when you're in the heat of it, okay. I mean, yep. All
Yeah.
right. He acknowledged. So therefore, they must be with him. Well, it was 88 seconds later that state caught up. So it was 88 seconds he was in a chase that state wasn't in, but they caught up with him.
Mhm.
The end of the chase, which occurred in Campbell County, ended up on Facebook because,
Okay.
everybody's got a cell phone,
Sure.
and it was up at I don't know how familiar you are with it, but at Ward's Road on 29, there's a Foster Fuels, and it was right there at that intersection. So it was busy. I mean, there was traffic. There was a lady in her car, like, oh my God, he's gonna hit us. She didn't get hit, but they did run off the road and they got him, and nothing happened. I mean, the guy's alive.
Mhm.
Like, nobody beat him down.
Right.
He's alive. His passenger was alive, and the arrests were affected. So done deal. But in the process, 2 Pennsylvania County cars were damaged.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, the guy hit him, and the other one, they hit head on in the parking lot,
Oh wow.
which we saw when we saw the videotape that Grubby went and got the next day on his day off from the foster fuels. So got back to the office, called his sergeant to let him know, hey, this happened, da 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 da. Well, his sergeant decided to come into the office and let me see, how can I say this nicely?
You don't have to.
Yeah, not on this podcast.
You don't
You
have
say it
to.
how you want on this
Um,
podcast.
I wouldn't piss on his sergeant if he were on fire. He's an
Mhm.
idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. Everybody in that department knows that when they promoted him over Grubby, they promoted the wrong one. And I've heard
Mm.
it from more than one person. And I'm talking people with rank, not, baby deputies.
Mm.
Because he's a moron. And he came into the office, and when they were going over everything, he said, "Man, Grubby, this is a mess. This is a mess, Grubby. Y'all could be charged with attempted capital murder." That was on
Oh.
January 24th, 2021, that those
Oh
words
my
came out of his mouth.
gosh.
Do what?
That was on January 24th, 2021. Those words came out of his mouth. Grubby told me about it that evening when he got home from work. We talked about it because
Jeez.
I'd already seen the end of the chase on Facebook. And so when he got home, I said, "Look like y'all had fun today." And, they were working on reports, and he was told, "Don't worry about it. Just finish it when you come back to work on Wednesday."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no problem. Well, came back to work on Wednesday. He was locked out. Couldn't get in the reports. Couldn't see any of the body camera.
Mm.
Nothing. He couldn't get to anything. None of them could. Now, I have the report because he printed it out several weeks later. And I've read it, and I can tell you without any doubt in my mind that my husband did not write what is in that report.
Oh wow.
I know how he wrote, and I know how he spoke, and I know what his reports read like because I'd worked with him. That was not a Grubby report. Somebody had gone in and
Mm.
changed it.
Ooh,
So,
that's a problem.
but
Huge.
he didn't think anything about it until February the 10th. And that was a Wednesday night, and they went into work. And the entire shift had letters in their boxes saying that they were now under an internal affairs investigation.
Oh, here we go.
Oh boy.
And because of the chase. That's what it was about. And that they all had appointments the following Tuesday to meet with the internal affairs officer on their day shift.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He comes home the next morning. He's printed out the reports. He's printed out policies and everything. But he's not worried. And Thursday night he goes to work. And ironically, the last call that he responded to was an attempted suicide where he had to break into her apartment to save her life, only to find out 2 hours later at the hospital that she had COVID.
Oh, jeez.
So he came home and we went into our COVID mode because I was essential, still work. I mean, I was working for the state at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, our daughter was in hybrid school.
Mm-hmm.
And so he stayed downstairs. Our downstairs area, I mean, he had everything he could have wanted. He had internet, he had satellite, a bedroom, a full bath. I would cook his dinner and put it on the top step, and he would come get it. And then he would let me know, okay, I'm done eating. And we would sit and have stare dates every night while he was on quarantine. He had no symptoms, nothing. And he'd already had the first shot. So, and I told him I knew the CDC's policy because I was an HR manager. I had to know it was my job. I was writing policy left and right during that time period. So I told him, I said, on day 5, post-exposure, you can go get tested.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. He did. On day 5, went over, got tested. Since he was asymptomatic, they charged him for the test. And they called him on day 6, let him know it came back negative. So he's thinking, all right, I can go back to work.
Yep.
He's ready. Now, mind you, at this point, the rest of the shift has already met with internal affairs,
Okay.
but nobody's reached out to him.
Right.
And, I told him, because he started, getting in his head a little bit. And I said, don't worry about it. I said, you think that nobody's called you because they were told not to. I said, do you honestly think that when you would do an investigation in the Navy and you told people not to talk to other people, they weren't talking? And he was like, well, yeah. And I was like, well, no, I was the subject of an investigation. And believe me, I got the call the minute they were done talking. I knew what was coming. And I said, no. I said, we all talk. You got to get your story straight. And I said, nothing's going to happen. You're fine. Well, he reached out to his sergeant, said, hey, I got a negative test. I'm ready to come back to work. The sergeant didn't want him to come back to work because they were on day shift. And if he came back to work, then everybody would see just how dumb the sergeant really was. He couldn't even do the vehicle inspection sheets. Grubby was the one that did all those. He couldn't do the time sheets. Grubby did all those.
Oh, jeez.
This is
Wow.
how ineffective of a sergeant he had.
So, did they schedule a time for the interview, or was they just
No, nothing.
just left it out there?
Nothing. Just left it out there and told him that he had to go. What did the contact tracer say? And he said there was no contact tracer because we found out while she was at the hospital. Like, we were still there.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had him call somebody with the county health department who said 14 days. And the county had been doing that for everybody. It was absolutely against the CDC's recommendation. It was totally wrong, but that's what they did for everybody. So here he was at home now, back upstairs with me though. We're being our normal little family self and still under investigation, can't return to work with a negative COVID test in hand, and nobody's talking to him. And I honestly believe that he was undiagnosed ADD. Because when he got a hold of something, he would not let it go. If he got into scuba diving, and let me tell you, I have 30 scuba tanks if I have one out in my shed. I kid you not. I had at one point 8 full sets of golf clubs in my house because when he would get into something, he would get so obsessed with it, and that ADD. And he started getting in his head. He wasn't sleeping well.
Mm-hmm.
About why he wasn't back at work. He was thinking that he was not back at work because they were setting him up to take the fall.
So now let me.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out to take the fall for what.
Well, yeah, I just want to. So he gets involved in this pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
He comes
Only
back.
as the supervisor because he was
Right.
not physically in it.
Right, I got you. But he and everybody that's in it, everybody comes back to work, and they get a notice in their mailbox saying you are under investigation because of in reference to this pursuit on this day.
Right.
So he's okay. We're under investigation, and it says that you're going to have to speak with IA over this.
Right.
But it doesn't give you any day. Hey, you're going to need a report within the next day or two. Just you're going to speak with IA about this.
Well,
and it's.
They had given them on that letter, there were appointments for all of them to see IA
Gotcha.
the following week. But of course, he was at that point, still on COVID lockdown.
Right. And that's what gets. So then he goes on a call where he gets exposed potentially to COVID, and he's out. So this whole time, while supposedly they're doing these IA interviews and they're going through that process, he's out at home. Due to COVID and COVID restrictions and quarantining and all that stuff. So but nobody's communicating. Nobody's going, hey, we know you're out on COVID. You still need to come and speak to IA. As soon as you're back, we're going to schedule it, or nothing like that. Nobody's saying
correct. Nobody said a word like that.
Wow. Okay.
So he, as we were going through the weekend, on Sunday,
Mhm.
because he died on Wednesday, and on Sunday, he was I mean, he was in his head a lot Sunday evening. I mean, he kept getting worse and worse in his head. And he'd been sitting down playing the radio traffic over and over and over again.
Mm.
In his little man cave. Um, and had me down there listening to it. And so I asked him, I said, "Would you talk to Mary, who is a friend of mine that he knew from our wedding?" And Mary is a licensed clinical social worker who has worked crisis intervention. So she knows how y'all talk. She knows how to talk to y'all. She knows exactly what to say and not say that will get her questions answered. And thank goodness she took notes, because she did the future planning screening, and there was no reason for her to feel like he was not going to keep living. She did the depression screening. He did not hit on one thing. There was nothing for her to worry about.
Mhm.
But fortunately, she had taken those notes, thank goodness. And so when I called her 3 days later to say, "Mary, I need you and I need you now," she couldn't believe it, that I was calling her, telling her that he had just taken his life. Um, but he talked to her for a long time Sunday night.
Mhm.
And he was better when he came back upstairs after talking with her. And he said he felt better. And okay, good. Well, he was due to go back to work on Thursday. And we got through Monday. I woke up Tuesday morning to do my workout. And I came out, and his laptop was sitting in the living room, and it was open, and there was a letter on it where he was begging for his job. Just begging, "Please just let me keep my job. I know I've brought discredit upon the sheriff." And I was like, "What the hell is this?" Well, he came out, and I said, "Do not send that letter. You just hold on. Now you just I'm going to run. I'm going downstairs. I'm going to go run, and I'll be back up here. But do not send that letter." What in the world? And, that thought process, that military thought process. If the ship catches fire on Saturday and the captain's not on the ship, that doesn't matter. It's still the captain's ship. He's still responsible. And that's where his head went. I was the supervisor on duty. I'm
Mm.
responsible for what my shift did. And I was like, "But they didn't do anything wrong. And certainly you didn't do anything wrong." So I knew at that point that we were in crisis. So as soon as I got done running, I came upstairs, logged in, sent my boss an email and said, "I'm taking a personal day. I've got some things I need to deal with at home." And we put our daughter on the school bus, and I said, "I'm all yours. Just you and me today." And by the end of the day, he was in such a much better headspace. I mean, we had our moments, but it was a good day,
Mhm.
overall. And, um, that night he slept a lot better.
Mhm.
So I woke up, did my run, came upstairs, got ready for work, sat down at my laptop. I'm working. And throughout the morning, he starts to spin
Mhm.
again. Now, this is Wednesday, and he is spinning. And I'm on a meeting, so I can't get off Zoom because I'm on a Zoom meeting. And Abby is sitting at her computer desk, which was right beside mine, so I could keep an eye on what she was doing because they were in that hybrid school.
Mhm.
So she was home. And she was sitting at her desk, and I was on this meeting, and he just got worse and worse and worse. And as soon as I logged off, I put myself out of office. I'm at lunch. And I said, "Come on, let's go. We're going across the county. Go get your dad's mail. It's a beautiful day. Let's go out for a drive." So we did. And the whole way across the county, he kept saying, "You just don't understand." And he kept throwing out the Garrity case, which I've read the Garrity case, but
Mhm.
it, this is not, it does not apply here.
I
Like,
I
Right.
I agree.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't
And you're
apply, but trying to tell him that was like pulling teeth. And I was like, you're fine. There's nothing is going to happen to you. Everything is okay. You're going to go back to work tomorrow. Everything is just fine. Like, you're going to be fine. And he was like, "No, you don't understand. The reason nobody's talking to me is because they're gonna, they're setting me up. They're setting me up. I'm gonna lose my job." And I was like, "You're not gonna lose your job." Well, then while we were driving, we ran into one of the deputies on his shift because they were working that day. He
mm,
should have been at work that day. If
mm.
he had been at work that day, you and I would not be having this conversation.
hmm
I know that without any doubt in my mind. I know that if he had been at work, his mind would have been busy and somebody would have already talked to him at that point. He'd have given his statement and he'd known it was no big deal,
Mhm.
that he was fine, and it would have been over. But he wasn't.
So, do you think a lot of this was born of like an ADHD panic response?
Yeah, I do. I do, because he would just, he would get, when he
I
got something in his head, he would just get so obsessed with it.
oh
Um,
I understand.
Well, he's
I
got
mean, I think, I do it.
one of the things working against him is the isolation.
Yeah.
And we
Right.
talked about that
Yes.
with IA investigation. It's very, very common, unfortunately, with departments of all sizes,
Yep.
is it becomes an isolation issue where you're isolated from the department. And it
Yep.
sounds to me that that department was Grubby's lifeblood. So it was,
Yes.
and for it sounded like he had a real hard time coming to grips with someone saying he did something wrong when
Oh,
you're
yeah.
out there trying to do the best and protect everybody and do the best by your people. And it sounds like he had a hard time coming to grips with the fact that someone was going to accuse him of doing wrong.
Yeah.
um, and then the isolation, and you get stuck in your head.
Yep.
That's a dangerous place to be.
Mm,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very
I
dangerous place to
told
be.
him during all of that, I said, "Do you understand that when I am when I'm alone with my thoughts, I am behind enemy lines." I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not a good place to be when I
I
am alone with
Gene,
the
I'm
thought.
writing that down because
Yeah. That is.
that,
Um,
that is like from your lips to God's ears.
I mean, but that I can go to dark places. I think
Yeah.
most of us can, and especially first responders who have been out on the road, you've seen the worst of the worst. So it's easy to go to those dark places sometimes. And,
hmm
he could not, we stopped and talked to the one deputy who invited us to go to lunch. And he's like, "I can't go. I'm quarantined. I'm not supposed to go." So the shift went to lunch.
Mm.
His shift, his guys,
hmm
all of them. The first
Mm.
uniformed deputy on scene was his sergeant. They
Yeah. I mean,
rotated with their dispatchers. So their dispatchers worked with them every shift.
So I
The
gotta
dispatcher that
ask.
took the call knew.
I mean, because it sounds like it was seemingly obvious that no policies were violated.
Right.
And so I'm guessing that however their policy is crafted, this supervisor can initiate the IA, and then it becomes, well, prove your case.
I've been told that only the sheriff can order an IA. But the sheriff was out on short-term disability.
Well, that brings me to my next question. Where was the sheriff, or for that matter, the undersheriff in all this?
or his chief deputy.
That's who owned it. The undersheriff is the one that ordered it. The sheriff, by law, could not have ordered it because he was on short-term disability at the time.
Yeah.
Mm,
If he had ordered it, he would have been breaking federal law because he'd been working while he was on disability. And that's illegal. So, some and I was told that he was the only one. And I was like, legally, his hands are clean, though.
Mm-hmm.
His hands are clean because he was on short-term disability. It really doesn't matter who ordered the investigation because by law, he couldn't have. And that's all he would have had to say.
Had
I
there
didn't
been
order
any
it. I was on short-term disability.
had there been any issues with the undersheriff?
Not with him
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, but he's another one that nobody in that department would cry if he were sent out the door.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I would rejoice for my friends that are still there.
Mm-hmm.
He's another one and he has a son who was with the city when I was dispatching and was as useless as a screen door on a submarine then. Then he went to state and he was useless as a screen door on a submarine then. And now he works for daddy.
I see.
Oh.
And there were some rumors swirling around about a female and another male on Grubby shift. And there was I don't know. I know what rumors were going around. I don't know whether there was any truth to them or not. But he didn't like Grubby because Grubby told him before, do your fucking job.
Right.
He used to work for Grubby. He was on Grubby's shift at one point. And I mean, they were on the radio. Radio traffic, him trying to get out of going to a 911 hang-up call. And Grubby said, just do your job. Go to the residence and double check on the radio.
Yeah,
And I said, I'd
that
write him
seems
up for
pretty
disrespect.
obvious.
I mean, I'd write him up straight up for disrespect at the very least.
Yeah. We go to 911 hang-ups. That is part of the job. Shut up and good grief.
And do your job.
So Grubby never did end up going for an interview. Never got to that.
He did not. We were on our way home. We were about 2 miles from the house. And he said, oh my God, Abby's home. And I said, yes, so? She let him in. And I went, who? Who did she let in? And he said, they're going to be waiting. They're going to be waiting there. They're going to arrest me for attempted capital murder on this guy. And I went, whoa, 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 whoa. Stop. I said, no. And he was like, yes, that was the undercover car that we just passed going the other direction. I'm telling you, they're going to be in the garage when you pull in the garage. I'm telling you, they're going to be waiting for me. And I said, I'm telling you, there's not going to be anybody there. And he said, no, because that's how I would do it. And I said, fair enough. I said, make me a promise. We turned left onto our road off of 41, and I lived 0.3 of a mile from 41. And we were going past the Dollar General that's right up at the end of the road. And I said, that's bullshit. I need you to make me a promise. And he said, what? And I said, when we get home, if nobody's there waiting for you, I need you to come back to the light. And he said, deal. 10 minutes later, he was in the woods behind the house with a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Oh.
The only reason I stopped at the house, I'm going to get a little personal, was I was about to have an exorcism of the lower GI. I have kicked myself every day because do you know, I was in a car with leather seats. What's the worst that would have happened? I could have cleaned it. I mean, good day. And we would have laughed about it. I would have never lived it down. But he'd probably still be alive because he'd still be laughing about it.
Oh.
I had no reason to think. I mean, okay, so he agreed that he would come back to the light.
Yeah.
A wrong light, Grubby. Wrong light. He came in and gave me a kiss and he said he loved me. And I said, I love you too. And I heard him go out the back door. Didn't think anything about it. It was 65 degrees and sunny that day. And a couple minutes later, my cell phone vibrated next to me and I picked it up. And as I was reading the text, I heard the shot. It was very quiet. I knew that he used a 22. I could tell. But I knew what it was as soon as I heard it. And I took off running because the text that he had sent said, "I love you so much." And I ran out into the woods behind the house, screaming. And then I found him. He was about 50 feet from me down in the creek bed. And I've been to enough to know when there's no hope. I mean, I knew. I knew. He was gone. He was gone before I got out there. And ran back up to the house, called 911, and I was very, I've done the protocol, so I was trying to be very calm, but let's get this moving. Now, you need to get some folks out here now. And when she figured out who it was, she screamed and said, "Y'all get them there now. This is Jeannie." It seemed like it took forever for the shift to show up. And right after they did, one of his best friends, who's a detective, showed up. I talked to one of the EMS guys for the fire department that responds to us. And he said, we didn't know what to do when we first heard it come across. Like, we all sat there for about a minute because we were waiting for somebody to say, "This is a drill." His shift was the ones that had to respond.
Oh, man.
The guy that had been his corporal when he first started with the sheriff's office in 2011, that, or 2010, that guy was the one that identified him.
Oh, man.
I mean, they obviously immediately turned it over to state to investigate it. And
Sure.
the state investigator told me very recently that it was 100% preventable and that it was 100% the fault of the Pittsylvania County Sheriff's Office. Those were his exact words.
So, for the sake of our audience, and I think I'm tracking, but for the sake of our audience, why do you think he said that?
Because if anybody had reached out to Grubby, if he had given a statement to IA, when IA showed up on scene, he went up to one of the other detectives and said, "Man, does anybody know what happened? Was it like a domestic or something?"
Oh, Jesus.
And the other detective said, "Nah, man, it was that fucking IA." And he said, "Why, man? Grubbs was good." He said, "Well, did you tell him that?" He said, "Well, no, he's been out on COVID." Dude, he's got a government phone sitting in there on the table in his living room. You couldn't call him? And they had to pull him off because the one detective was going to go after the internal affairs lieutenant. They had to hold him back.
See, and that shows how dangerous that isolation is.
Yes. Yes. And,
Well,
agencies just don't understand that, I think, sometimes.
they don't.
I think they believe that, oh, okay, you're out on leave and, you're doing whatever and everything's fine, then we get you back in and finish the investigation. But they don't understand what that stress is. And there's some
Right.
people that you can probably put on leave and are fine.
Right.
But there's folks like Grubby that is his lifeblood. And
I mean, he became the job.
Mhm.
The job became him. He told me in the car that day, he said, "You don't understand. This is the only job I've ever wanted to do."
And that, with respect, that's a dangerous thing too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I
I
tell.
mean,
it is. But
I get it because I've been there,
Yep.
but
well,
that's a slippery slope.
when you're home and you're under investigation, that's stressful, even something minor to something large. But you have this one jackass saying that, oh, you guys could be charged with what second degree murder, some
Attempted
Attempted,
capital
capital
murder.
murder, some horse shit that he throws out there,
which
and
is just on its face. If I heard a supervisor tell me that under those set of circumstances, I'd think they were fucking crazy.
yeah.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
it's a ridiculous
But you
Oh yeah.
have
statement.
that, and then you're home and you're isolated. You're hearing nothing, and then when you're somebody that it's stressful enough if you're thinking, could I lose my job? That's stressful to any person that could maybe lose to be unemployed. That's stressful. But if it's the job that is what encompasses you, that you love and you love what you do, and not only that, I can tell he is just that very, very righteous law enforcement officer.
Yep.
When you talk about him, treating everybody with respect, it seems to me that he had that big heart in the job.
He
And
did.
to tell somebody like that they did something wrong when they know and feel they didn't, that's hard to hear. So he's at home. You got all that going on. Am I going to keep my job, the job that I love, that I work so hard for, and I put my heart and soul in? Are they not only are they going to let me go, but is somebody going to come and arrest me?
Yeah.
That's a tremendous stress. And then you're in your own head. And I mean,
Yep.
I love the way you put it, but I mean your biggest critic and your most brutal critic
Always yourself.
is
Mhm.
yourself. You are more brutal and harsh than any critic you will ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
And man, I agree with you that how can they not reach out or even something? I mean,
They
going,
could
hey,
have done
look,
a Zoom. They could have come
well,
and
that's
sat
right.
10
In
feet
that
apart
age,
on the back deck with masks on.
everything was Zoom. Even if they just couldn't just say, hey, look, just to let you know that, we've gotten everybody through. We spoke to everybody. Everything's moving fine. This is just, at this point, it's just a procedural thing. We got to get through and
Yep.
get your statement, stuff like that. But hey, as soon as you finish with the COVID, we're going to get you in. We're going to get that done and get you back to work. You get that kind of reassurance.
Yep.
Especially if they've already kind of gone through and interviewed everybody and know, hey, this isn't really going anywhere. This is we're gonna wrap it up and bow it up that we investigated it and looked at it. But if it's not some lingering major issue, let him off the hook. Let him know, hey, look, we just got to get do the formalities when you come in
Yep.
and get this statement done, and then we're going to put you back to work. So have your boots shine up, be ready to go. That would have probably made all the difference.
It would have made all the difference in the world. I have no doubt in my mind
That's
that if they had reached out to him, he'd have
and
been
look up
fine those 14 days. That was day 13.
right.
Mhm.
And look at what we lost because of that.
Yeah.
I can only imagine that. I mean, this was early 2021,
Yep.
so we're coming off the summer of stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I can imagine that some of that might have been playing in his head
It
as
was.
well.
Because then there was the whole, they're going to arrest me for attempted capital murder. And then he's going to sue me civilly and we're going to lose the house. And you and Abby aren't going to have anywhere to live. Well, Jeannie and Abby were going to be fine because Jeannie worked for the state of Virginia and made pretty decent money as an HR manager. I mean, I was pretty comfortable when the sheriff came over that night and told me what a nice house I had. To thank Sheriff. It's not because of what you paid him. I mean, he loved to tell people I made a lot more than him.
I just it's so disheartening to know that
Yep.
something so simple is stay in touch with your people or have somebody in touch with
Well,
people. Somebody.
You know what? It's not just stay in touch with your people. It's treat your people like people.
Like people.
You're absolutely right, Al. Absolutely right.
And that does not happen in our job a whole lot.
If you treat him
Nope.
like a person, then somebody's going to be making the phone call going, hey, just checking in on you.
Yep.
Just hell, you've already had everybody in there interviewed. And I guess nothing ever came of this pursuit.
Not for him. As a matter of fact, the sheriff let me know that he was cleared of any and all wrongdoing, that he had done nothing wrong. And I said, well, I knew he would be.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, I did my time on the road. I know. And I think the one that had gotten hit, where not head on, but the one that had gotten hit from the side, because he had pulled up beside the guy and was
Okay.
saying, pull over, pull the fuck over.
Right.
And that's where he was wrong.
Okay.
And I think he had a couple of days on the beach, and then the other one never came back to where, like, he went out and never came back. Like, no, he just went out for a shoulder injury and just never came back. So I don't know what would have happened to him. He probably would have lost his job. Honestly, having even just seeing what I saw on Facebook when
Yeah.
they did the stop and he got out of his car, you could tell how angry he was. I mean, and you can't do that. I don't care how hyped up you are.
Yeah.
You can't,
Oh yeah.
there's cameras everywhere. I mean, there's cameras everywhere.
Yeah. It's
And,
just, man.
I don't know. But as far as the rest of the shift, none of them got in trouble and Grubby was cleared. I mean, they were, the sheriff made a point to tell me that he was absolutely 100% in the clear. And, well, yeah, figured he would be.
So that takes me to, how did the sheriff's office deal with it in the aftermath?
Initially, they were very, very supportive. They
Initially.
did. You would not, if you had not known that it was a suicide, you would not have known it on that day when we had the service, because they treated it like a line of duty. The only thing I requested was that we not do the gun salute. I'd heard enough guns, and didn't want to hear another one. But even because of my military background, the captain that did it, I mean, he went to the range and fired off the guns, the shots, and he told me, he said, I will still do that, and I will still fold those shells into the flag because I know you understand the significance. I said, yes, I do. I just don't want to hear it. But they treated it just like a line of duty, like publicly, until afterwards. So initially, they were in and out of the house all the time. His friends are always around anyway. They come around anytime I need, anytime I want. I mean, and it's getting close. So in about a month or so, I'll start hearing from his closest again, because this is about the time she starts to get in her own head. And she knows she can call me at any time. I get the whole not wanting to take what you see and do at work home. And that was one of the reasons it was one of the things that he always said about me, was that he knew he could bring it home because he knew I could handle it because I'd done it.
Yeah.
And so, I was not that typical wife who you leave that stuff at work. I was the one that you could talk to.
No, I mean, it sounds like 100%. I mean, you're definitely a unicorn in a lot of respects.
Yes. And so, when she starts to get into her feels as it gets closer, she'll be calling me. And, and my door, I've told him from the get-go, and the sheriff told him the day of the service. Jeannie said her door is always open. And it is. I don't care what time, day or night, knock on my door. I will sit and talk you through it. It will be okay. But whatever you do, don't follow him. Don't follow him, because even if you're single and you don't think there's anybody that cares, I promise you somebody does. I promise you somebody does. When you can hear the dispatcher crying on the phone with you while you're waiting for them to show up, and realizing how much it affected them. I mean, they had to forward all of the calls to Danville because it was their entire dispatch center and their entire road shift that had to come off the road because they were his people. That was his family. And, the sheriff he himself has been very supportive. I finally decided almost 2 years ago to go ahead and file for LODA
Mm-hmm.
and for the PSOP,
Yep.
Yep.
and the sheriff 100% supportive of that. So I'm still waiting because everything's a wait.
Sure.
And for
But
those that don't know, we're talking about line of duty death benefits.
yeah, it took its toll on me because I'd done enough time on the road and I've seen enough bodies. And you know how it is. You work a case. Once the case is over, you put that case file away in the file cabinet and there it sits. And you don't
Mhm.
ever have to look at it again. You don't ever have to think about it again because it's over. You've done your testimony. The case is done. And it was the same. Um, but then they start coming back when you go through something like this. And
Yeah.
I start remembering some of the worst ones. And that's a hard thing to do. The VA ended up sending me home and said, "You're not going to work again."
Really?
So, oh yeah. But I knew that there would come a day that I would start telling the story. I've been fortunate. I've been with Southern States Police Benevolent Foundation with their behind the badge training,
Mm-hmm.
and told the story.
An excellent organization.
Yes. Yes. And if anybody out there has not been to that training is raw and it is real and it will make a difference. It is hugely positive.
Mm.
It's raw and it can be painful. Um, Amazingly enough, when I told the story the first time, I only choked up once. But I did not. I had 150 pairs of eyes watching me, and not one of them got up and left that room. Not one of them looked at their phone or checked their email they watched me the entire time. Um, Abby misses her dad every day. Every day. We talk about him all the time. We look for him. We look for signs everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're there. I know they're there. I went through in the months afterwards. I ended up having to leave. Well, I left my job before the VA said you're not going to work anymore. But because I knew, how was I supposed to make executive level decisions to take to the C-suite if I couldn't figure out whether or not I was going to put pants on? I wasn't sleeping. I ate a lot. I was one of those that did not stop eating. I ate my grief. 70 pounds of it, as a matter of fact. Fortunately, I've lost that, so I'm back to where I should be. But it was rough. It was rough. And, I would put her on the bus to school and I would just fall apart. I'd keep my work laptop beside me just in case something came through. But 9 times out of 10, I was on the couch, bawling my eyes out. I just sobbing. And, I have shaken the box of ashes more times than I care to count, and I have cussed him and called him everything but a child of God, and then turned right around and said, "But I love you. You're my jackass, and I still love you." But he can take it. If he couldn't take it, he should have stayed. That's what we say when we do something we don't think he would have liked. Well, if he didn't like it, he should have stayed. So I think that he definitely is around us all the time. I've felt him at night when I've gone to bed at night. I've known that he was there. And that, if I had one thing to say to any leadership any leadership is, we can spend all the funding in the world. You can get all the grants and all the funding in the world and buy the most accurate weapons and the best, strongest vests and the best, fastest cars with all the latest technology to protect and take care of your people. But if you don't take care of this is their number one asset. This brain up here is their number one asset, and they are your number one asset. And if you don't take care of their number one asset, it doesn't matter how much you provide them with. If your head's not on right, you're not going to survive in this business. It's too important to your family and to your friends to go get help when you need it. Don't be afraid to ask for it. There's too many people out there that will give it and give it freely. And I knew from the get-go that at some point I was going to start telling the story so that I could carry on his legacy of service. I'll never know who it helps. I'll never know because they're not going to come back to me and say, oh, you saved my life. I'll never know. And that's okay. I don't need to know. But as long as it helps one, as long as it saves one, then it's worth it. And I won't stop. I won't stop telling it until all of our officers feel safe in every department to go and get help when they need it. That's how important it is. And I can remember when I asked for help 20 years ago, I basically was told I was on my own, and I was active duty at the time. So I did what I needed to do, and I self-referred to the Navy's rehab program because I was a very serious, very bad alcoholic. And now I can safely say that I have 20 years of recovery, and even through this, I didn't drink and didn't smoke either. That was a miracle, but I managed to get through without anything. And I remember when they got the letter from the SARP program in Naples, Italy. They called me and told me to come in. And I sat down with the security officer and the senior enlisted advisor, the second in command. And they said, we need your gun cards and your badge because you're done. So the one thing I could be proud of at that moment, they took away from me. And that was just when I asked for help. So the stigma it still permeates so many different places. And, out here on this end of the state, we've had 4 active or former law enforcement die by suicide in 5 years. And when I reached out to the local training academy in Henry County, they basically were not interested to hear what I had to say.
I wish I could say I was surprised.
It breaks my heart because it's like now that it's all over, now that, he's just a memory. He's a faint memory. He's not recognized at the annual, law enforcement memorial service that they have locally. His name's not going to be on any bridge or, it is in Texas. It's on the monument that First Help did. That they just set it this year so we could see it in September. And so in September, I got to see his name on the first and probably only monument that it will ever be on. But it was there. He'll be remembered. He'll always be remembered.
Jeannie, I'm so impressed with you.
Likewise.
I'm your just your personal strength and resiliency is amazing. I knew when we were talking at the ride, man, we got to talk again. We got to talk again. And you have something that is so valuable to share. And I hope you keep doing it.
Oh yeah.
I hope you keep at it. Not just for Grubby's memory, but for yourself and all the other people that I know you can touch and
Yeah.
have touched already.
Absolutely.
Every
Um,
time I tell the story, it heals just a little bit more.
but I tell you this, and I mean it from the heart. You're an amazing woman. Grubby was lucky to
Thank
have
you.
you.
Yeah, he was. He'd have told you that. He'd have told you that.
But I mean that, and I want to thank you for coming on and taking the time and being patient with us to get you on.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, if you get here to Central Virginia, my home, my door is open to you anytime.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll
Thanks
be
so
back.
much.
I got to get with Strength and Honor again, but I'm hoping to come back again in April. So
Excellent.
Very good. We definitely appreciate you telling your story. It's just the stories like these that are told over and over that I think are going to help,
yeah,
in the long run, in the long game. And because like you said, you don't know who it's going to help,
nope.
but it's going to help
And
without a
that's all
doubt.
I can hope for.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You betcha.
I can't wait till y'all post it on Facebook. I got a whole line of people waiting for me to share it.
Yeah, we'll let you know as soon as this thing's going to drop.
So awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
No, I mean it, Jeannie. You're amazing. Really.
Thank you.
Truly.
Absolutely.
I just did what I had to do. I mean, lots of counseling. Lots of counseling.
No, I get it. I mean, part of why Denny and I do this is because of the shit that we've gone through and still go through. And in fact, the next episode we drop is going to be a lot about that.
We'll talk a little bit about that.
And I just got myself back in therapy like a month ago.
Yeah, because you're recently retired.
Oh yeah, and I'm unpacking 30 years worth of bullshit, half of which is job, and probably more than half is not job.
Yeah.
So, because I started hitting the wall,
Yep.
and Denny did the same thing, and Denny hit the wall 4 years ago, probably thereabouts.
Yeah, right about.
And the person that came out on the other side was very different than the person that went in.
This is true.
Yeah. And for the better. And this is, his brainchild.
Well, this is awesome. I mean, I've been listening to all the old episodes. I've been going back listening to them. I don't know how I wasn't subscribed. I thought I had subscribed and everything, but when I'm driving,
all the followers we can get on Spotify.
I know, and when I'm driving, y'all are on. Like I am listening to y'all,
and we appreciate it so much. But man, thank you so much.
I'm really happy we did that. I think we need to get her plugged in with Chris.
Oh, Scuderi. Yeah.
She needs to go to Norfolk.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for the conference there. Yeah.
I will happily go.
We'll work on
I will
getting
travel anywhere on my own dime.
Well, they'll help with that. So, but
I've told people I don't pay for me. I will pay for myself.
I have a perfectly good guest room and full guest bathroom at my house that you are welcome to if you need to come to Richmond. But if you can get to Norfolk, I think your talk would be great. But thank you so much for coming.
But we'll definitely keep in touch.
Yes, definitely.
All righty.
Jeannie,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Well, man, I'm glad we finally got to get that recording.
Yeah, I feel bad that it took as long as it did, but
well, it wouldn't be an episode if we didn't have some kind of bullshit, crazy technical issue with something doesn't sound right, doesn't record right, doesn't turn on, doesn't turn off. I mean, it's
Technical snafus abound.
either this
here.
doesn't turn on or this doesn't turn off, or I mean, can't hear this, but you hear that. You don't hear this, and
I guess that's what happens when our recording studio is a garage and a folding table.
one of these days we're going to get somebody that really, really knows what they're doing with this shit, and they're going to look at it and go, "Oh, all you had to do was push this button."
Well, shit.
Yeah, and then you wouldn't have any of these problems. That it's going to be something like that, no doubt. But that was a good recording.
I'm really so happy that we got Jeannie here. She's just she really is a force of nature, and she has been through so much, and she is doing such a wonderful job of keeping Grubby's memory alive.
Yeah,
It's really something to see, and I do hope she gets back here in the spring for the annual First Help ride. It'd be great to see her.
Definitely. I mean, it's, but it's such a reminder of how dangerous and real the suicide is.
Yeah.
You think about how many stories you hear, and it's always, this is the last person. This is the last person we'd ever thought, the last person would ever have considered something like this. So for that to be,
Mm-hmm.
it shows that it is a real danger and a real threat.
And
Because otherwise it would be like, oh, we kind of thought this was going to be the outcome. This is, this wasn't a surprise because of, ABC, but it's always, this is the last person we thought would ever face something like this. So it shows how dangerous it is.
and many of us have been in Grubby's place.
Yeah.
We've been on that
Yeah.
hot seat. We know what it's like to be under the microscope. We know that feeling of anxiety. And if you do have kind of that ADHD response, pointing my finger at myself, that how that makes you feel, especially if you are so invested in the job.
Yeah, it's tough. And I really do think you said it best. And I think you've said it before. I think we've addressed it before, but treat your people like people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that really makes a difference.
It could make it sadly, and it I don't think it's hyperbolic to say it can make the difference between life and death.
I think you're absolutely right. I agree that it would have made, you don't know, but my gut tells me that would have made all the difference in the world for Grubby. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to call and have, a huge conversation, but it's just the touch and base. Hey, just checking on you, make sure you're doing all right.
Mm-hmm. It's really that simple.
Yeah. We're gonna work through this thing, but I just wanted to check on you, and it at least makes you think that hey, even if I'm still under investigation, and I'm still got this kind of looming over, but at least hey, the agency, I'm still important to the agency,
Mm-hmm.
and they're still checking on me, so you feel like you're not isolated.
And you have some chiefs and sheriffs that they want to parade, they want us to give out hugs and look, shut up. That's not what they that's not what anybody wants.
No, that's that yesteryear thinking bullshit.
We signed up for law enforcement. We know we didn't sign up for, the hugging booth, and kittens and puppies and bullshit. We get it, okay? We don't need a parade. We don't need a fruit basket. Nothing. Just let us know that,
Yeah,
it's okay.
Hey,
all right?
you're not cut off. Just touching base.
Yeah.
And I think those things make a huge difference. But agencies don't do that. I don't know how many times people have been on admin leave and they hear boo from nobody.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then you get stuck in your head.
And we simply need to do so much better.
Yeah.
But again, great having Jeannie on.
Oh man, yeah, she was great.
And as far as I'm concerned, she's welcome back anytime.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, Al, that's going to wrap us up.
I think it does.
Where can they find us?
They can find us at badgetothebone.com. They can also find us on Facebook at Badge to the Bone.
Also, shoot us an email at wearebadgetothebone@gmail.com. And while you're listening, make sure to like and follow us. But until then, be safe
and be well.